into our teaching reading and just making sure I'm live everywhere. And I'm going to need 1 second to fix my screen share. But welcome, welcome. We are here to do the Foundations of Reading test and the teaching reading test. Looks like I'm live everywhere I need to be. Yep. And I'm live on, lower that. I'm live on YouTube and everywhere else. So welcome. It is Saturday, March 15th. We are doing the Praxis teaching reading and the Foundations of Reading. I am opening the chat for you guys right now. Give me 1 second. Looks like we're open. So go ahead and let me know in the chat that you can hear me okay. You can see me. It looks like you can. Let me just see. Yep, my volume is working. Good. All right, so I had a little problem with my share screen. So I have to do that now just really quickly. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to talk with you about what we're doing today. So we are working on this exam, Praxis Teaching Reading. We are working on the Foundations of Reading. We're also working on, not many of you are taking this test, but some people do. This is the K-12 version of this exam. They're both pretty much the same test. It's just some states require this, some require this. But I want you to know that whether you're taking this, or the Science of Teaching Reading, or another reading test in another state, sorry, let me get these books. They're all the same thing. They all assess the same things, maybe in a different order, but all of these are the same skills that we're talking about here. So, and I need to find, where is my, all right. So what we're going to do today is, if I can get my presentation to mirror, which I'm trying to do right now. So let's see, we're going to try it one more time. Let me know in the chat if you're taking the 5205, the 5206, or the, there we go, Foundations of Reading. Most people are doing one or the other. And you may be taking the 7002, which is another reading exam. You might be taking the Science of Teaching Reading, which is another reading exam. And if you are, that's great. And we're here to help you with all of that. So that's what we're doing today. I'm just trying to get my presentation working because it would not share screen. And now I fixed it. I beat it. So we're ready to go. Okay. So let's see here. Let me go back to where I am. All right. So we've got Rebecca, Lynn, Pamela. Hello from Indiana. Hello, Pamela. Ryan, 5205. Rebecca, Foundations. Michelle, 5205. Desiree, 7002. So those of you taking the 7002, which is a brand new exam, just really quickly want to talk about that for a second. The 5001 used to be the main elementary education exam. Then they changed it in some states to the 7001. And they basically, it's the same exact test as the 5001, but they beefed up the reading section, section 1, which is 7002. Basically what they did was they took this test and put it in the front of the 7001. So 7002, which is the reading section of the full exam, is this. So you are in the right place if you are working on that 7002. We've got Foundations of Reading 5205. Anybody taking the 5206? It doesn't really matter because they're the same, but 190. So the 190, I think they have the 290. Some states call it MTELs. It's all the same test. The specs are identical. So whether you're in Massachusetts or another state and you're taking Foundations of Reading or MTEL, you're in the right place as well. Okay, Maddie's taking the 5206. Okay, great. Just know that everything we talk about today is the same. You may get a couple of like middle school reading questions or high school reading questions on that exam because it is K through 12, but it's all the same stuff. Okay. STR. Okay. So Dominic, you must be from Texas. So welcome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for letting me know what you're doing. I appreciate that. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about where you can get our resources. Then we're going to go over some problems and I'm going to show you specifically how to think like a test maker. Marina, Fort 890, that's the same as any Fort 190. It's just some states decided to call it the 890. So good. New York, SWDP through 12. Okay. Awesome, Jess. I'm glad you're here. Okay. So one thing I want you to understand is today's free webinar, it comes with a lot of stuff. There's 2 free study guides when you entered the webinar. So when you signed up through my website, you get 2 free study guides, one for teaching reading and one for foundations of reading. Download them both because they're different. So you'll get some extra questions there. So that's really helpful. Also, you're going to get this replay. When I am done today, it will be emailed to you. If you're watching in the future, you already have the replay because you signed up and you got the link and all of that. If you're watching in the future on YouTube after March 15th, 2025, all the information is in the description to get the free study guides. Now, if you're watching me live on Facebook or YouTube right now, you didn't go through the webinar, you can get all the free resources by using the link in the description to sign up. There's a link in there to sign up. When you do, you'll be taken to a thank you page. You'll get the webinar link to kind of join inside the actual webinar room where I'm talking to people. And you'll also get the free study guides and then all the follow-up emails and offer codes and all of that. I do have a colleague in the chat. Her name is Yana. She's awesome. She's going to be sharing with you guys the offer code to get some discounts on the stuff, on the paid stuff. And she'll also answer some questions if I can. This came up and it's catching my eye. Robin, Louisiana, I have the choice of taking the 5205 or the 7005. It's actually the 5205 or the 7002, Robin. The 7005 is science, but you're right. You're allowed to either take the 5205 or the 7002. And just a quick tip for Louisiana, if you have the option of just taking the 7001, rather than trying to piece things together, I believe that works because that has the new 7002 and covers elementary ed. So look into that because then you may not have to pay for extra tests. All right. The 7001 that has the 7002 now is exactly the same as the 5001, except that the 7002, which is the old 5002, is now teaching reading. It's just a more robust section. All right. All right. So let's get started. Let me talk to you about a couple of things. My name is Kathleen Jasper. If you don't know me, let me know in the chat if this is the first time you have attended my webinars. If you're a repeater, let me know. Again, I told you I have Yana Crystal Bossy in the chat. She is my colleague. She's going to help you out with discount codes and all of that. But I just want to give you some background information on me very quickly so that you know I'm qualified to teach this. I was a high school reading teacher, biology teacher, and English teacher. I kind of had a hodgepodge of certifications because my principal needed me to keep getting certified in all this different stuff. I started off as a substitute teacher like many of you. I was a permanent sub and I decided I wanted to teach. And so I went through this process of like getting certified and all of that alternatively. And many of you are doing that as well. Some of you went to the College of Education, did the traditional route. Some of you, like me, you got a bachelor's degree in something else, in my case, English. And then you decided you wanted to teach. So you can teach with a bachelor's, but then you have to do this alternative certification because you don't have that degree in teaching. So I did all that and I taught intensive reading at the high school level. And so I worked closely with reading coaches and things like that. But when I started really building these books, I've learned so much more about the foundations of reading, which is the name of one of these tests. And it's really important that we understand that to do well on this test and to be very effective reading teachers. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So we've got first time. Awesome. Lots of first time people. Repeater tab. Wonderful. First time repeater. Audra. Wonderful. Lots of first timers. So great that you guys are here. Beverly is a repeater. Welcome. I'm just kind of calling out a few things that there's a lot of people in here today, which I'm really excited about. And looks like you guys are talking to each other as well. Awesome. Okay. So first things first, you have the free resources. If you didn't have time to download the study guide, don't worry. I'm going to project everything on the screen. I'm going to take a few problems from the teaching reading study guide, and I'm going to take a few problems from the foundations of reading study guide, the free ones. If you want a more comprehensive, more robust, as you can see, these books are very thick and they have a lot more information in them. If you want the paid stuff, we have that, and there's an offer code that Yana is putting in the chat, and you will also get that offer code later in the email. Don't try to buy it right now. listen to me. Let's do this webinar. Figure out if you want to get it. You'll get the offer code. We have plenty. You'll be fine. But I just want to show you where to get these things if you are interested in the paid resources very quickly before we get started. Everything is on my website, KathleenJasper.com. Right now, you're in the free webinars, which is this tab here. We are doing this Foundations of Reading, and I have past webinars here. So definitely check those out. We will link that up in the email. Now, we also have study guides here. If you click the Foundations of Reading test, you can see that here it is. There are reviews. And if you click on this Amazon link, it will take you to the physical study guide. When you buy from our website, which is here, you're buying a digital study guide. It's emailed to you. You can save it to your computer. Don't print it out. That's a waste. Just buy the physical if you want a physical book. But this is emailed to you. You can save it to your computer and have it forever. It's yours. But if you want a physical copy, you click that Amazon button. It will take you here and buy it new. Don't buy used copies of our study guides, because when you do, you're getting a used study guide with writing in it. So that is problematic for people. And we will often get emails saying, hey, I bought your study guide from Amazon, but I have writing in it. Third-party sellers, we have no control over, and that's just something we can't control. But you can see lots of people buy these together. We have lots of study guides, lots of 5-star reviews. We're very proud of our publications. So if you want more, grab this. You can also see, let's go back here. We have this is our most popular, Teaching Reading. We just published our Foundations of Reading. The Teaching Reading is our most popular. Everybody uses it. I'm so excited about that. Again, when you buy this, you're getting the digital download. If you want a physical copy, click this. We also have a audio course that goes with the Teaching Reading that you can also use for the Foundations of Reading. I haven't had time to record the Foundations of Reading yet. Audio course, but it's the same thing. People love this because they buy the book and then they get the audio course and they listen to the audio course in their car or whatever. This is only a 15% off bundle. Once you get the offer code, you can just add this to your cart and then delete the offer code and put in the 20% offer code, and you'll get more of a discount if you want to buy these together. And finally, the last thing that we offer for everything is we have online courses for both the Foundations of Reading and the Teaching Reading. If I just want to show you what those look like, they look like this. They have tons of videos, quizzes. I basically explain everything. I also have very comprehensive constructed response help here. This is what the Foundations of Reading looks like as well. This one's a much bigger. This is a slightly bigger test. It's broken up, but you can see like we're working through everything here. And then there are quizzes that you do, and everything follows the book. Also, you get the digital download of the book in the online course. So when you buy the online course, you basically get everything, and you can listen to these videos too. So let's say you bought the online course and you want to just go for a walk and listen. There are visuals here, but you can listen to this as well. So it's kind of an audio, a visual, and working through the book. I also have videos on how to use it. Okay. So that's everything. But we also have these amazing free resources, which are these webinars. And a lot of people pass the exams using our free stuff, which I love. So money's tight. You're a teacher, don't have a lot of extra stuff. Use my free resources. At the end of this webinar, I'm going to show you where to get even more free videos. You can sort of piece together an online program for yourself. If you want to save money, I totally respect that. We do have comprehensive materials that are totally amazing, but you can use my free stuff too. Lots of people do. Okay. I have the pink book. Is this webinar going to help with 5713? No, this is a completely different test, and that person is, sorry, I want to just see who you are. I got to go back here. Brinley. I am doing, that's the Praxis core. Go to under my free webinars tab on my website, and you'll see Praxis core is happening on March 29th in 2 weeks. So, and I believe I have a repeat on there somewhere, but I also have a lot of videos on YouTube. So if you need it before then, go to YouTube, 5713, all of that. Okay. Will you focus today on the prompts for the Foundations of Reading? Yes, I'm going to do a writing prompt for the Foundations of Reading and for the Teaching Reading. Understanding them both is going to help you. They're structured slightly differently, but they assess the exact same thing. We're going to do that at the end. I'm actually going to spend a good amount of time on that. Okay. Just making sure. Yep. We'll also go over. Yep. Yana just answered you. Great. The construction response is what's causing me a lot of stress. Okay. Let's talk about the constructed response really quickly before I start on the multiple choice. Here's what I find that people do. So if you're new here, the constructed response is also called the open response. So it's called a constructed response on the teaching reading Praxis. It's called an open response on the foundations of reading. Same thing. You're given a scenario, you might be given a little bit of data, and then you're asked to write to it, right? And you sort of like go, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. Some of you are not teachers yet. You don't know how to do it, but you will have to write for the 5205, the 5206, and the foundations of reading. If you're taking the 7002, that's why I say you may want to take the 7002 instead of the teaching reading. No writing, because you're part of another test and there's no writing for that test. Just a quick word of advice. Those of you from Louisiana, you may want to take the 7002 if the writing gives you stress. Now, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. But first, as we go through some of these concepts, I want you to understand how this is broken up, okay? First, you're going to have foundational skills of reading. And the very first foundational skills are phonemic awareness and phonological awareness, okay? So you are going to want to be thinking about that. You could get a open response or a constructed response that has to do with phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. Now that has to do with sounds only in words. So whatever strategy you come up with, it's going to have to be about sounds only, okay? As you go through the study guide, this is what I find. You guys do so good on the multiple choice. You can totally discern everything, but you forgot to kind of store the phonemic awareness, phonological awareness strategies, the continuum, all the things I talk about here. And then you don't apply them to the writing. Everything you learn about the multiple choice should be applied to the writing. And I'm going to show you physically how to do that. I just want you to think about that. So then the next foundational skill is phonics. That's decoding. We have different ways in which we do that, right? We might chunk words out. We might use silent letters. We might be working on CVC words or CVCE words. It's all covered here. I want you, when you're reading through this book, pull out some strategies for each section and store them in your brain as strategies you could use for the writing, because it doesn't matter what the scenario is. If it's a phonemic awareness and phonological awareness scenario, grab one of those strategies that you can remember. If it's a phonics scenario, use one of your phonics strategies. If it's a fluency, I always go to repeated reading with fluency. I always go with modeling. Modeling is always one. Like if you're blanking on a strategy, guess what a strategy is? Modeling. What's modeling? You showing the students how to do it. So modeling prosody, modeling how to decode words. It's explicit instruction. It's a strategy. So as long as you back it up with why you're doing it and why it would help the student, you are fine. So I'm going to get into it more specifically, but as we talk about these different skills, I want you to hold on to them, one or two for each foundational skill. And then when you're asked about it in the constructed response, you can pull from it. Okay. So you might have one on foundational skills, phonemic awareness, phonological awareness. You might have a writing prompt on phonics. You might have a writing prompt on fluency. You might have a writing prompt on vocabulary, and you might have a writing prompt on comprehension. If you go into my books at the end where I go through the writing response or the written response, I pull from all different ones so that you can practice. In fact, this new book, this is my latest. So this one's probably the best book I've written yet. They're all good. The teaching reading, everybody uses it to pass. But this one is the newest one. And I have so many writing prompts in here from all different sections, and I labeled them. Every time I write a book, I get better because of the feedback that you guys give me. So, Savannah, especially the running records and how should you choose which one is more important skill to remediate. Here's the thing, Savannah, on the foundations of reading, you are going to get a running record question, and a running record, just to sort of talk about to people who are new to teaching. It's when a student is reading for fluency, they're reading a passage and the teacher's following along and kind of ticking where the student is making mistakes. So if they skip a word, if they say a wrong word, whatever. And so they'll give you that data. It's one of the sample questions on the website for the Pearson, for the ones that make that exam. Guess what? It doesn't matter. Repeated reading is a fluency. All you have to do is say repeating reading would help the student because repeated reading builds confidence. It helps the students with automaticity. You could also say repeated reading by the teacher and then modeled, and then allow the student to read. It could be listening to the book on tape and reading, or on tape. You can tell I grew up in the 80s, listening through the headphones and then reading as well. That helps with prosody, intonation. What else we call it? Fluency. So it doesn't matter what strategy you use. A lot of times you don't even have to read the data. Now, it's helpful to say, because the student is low in prosody, as you can see, they only scored a blah, blah, blah in prosody, I would recommend repeated reading after the teacher models the skill. And I'm going to show you, I have modeling and I have some other things in there, but that's going to be at the end. All right. So very good. How many prompts will you have? It depends. Let me go to, I've been out of the teaching reading for a minute. Let me go with teaching reading. There are 3 constructed responses for the teaching reading. And I believe, how many do you get for the foundations? I've been writing other books since I started this. Hang on, I've got it. In the front of the book, I always have it, the test broken down. There's just one. There's just one. Oh, I'm sorry, 2. One for foundational skills and one for advanced reading comprehension. So you're going to have one probably for fluency. Fluency is a big one. And then you'll have one for comprehension. And listen, fluency, repeated reading, modeling prosody, that type of thing. Comprehension, read aloud, think aloud, strengthen metacognition. I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? And the reason why you have 2 for the foundations of reading is because they like to emphasize the foundational skills, which is going to be phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, phonics, and fluency, and then the meaning-based skills, which is vocab and comprehension. They're more advanced. They require a lot of metacognition and also the top of the Bloom's taxonomy, the analytical thinking, evaluative thinking, stuff like that. Okay. Kayla's asking, what is the most seen scenario for 5205? We have no idea. Here's the thing, guys. I know it would be really nice to be able to predict exactly what questions you're going to get on the test. That's impossible. There are item banks filled with test questions. There are hundreds, sometimes thousands, depending on the test. I do not recommend trying to memorize what you might get on test day. Instead, you need to be able to answer these in a variety of ways. That way you're prepared for anything. So, I just caution you. A lot of people do that. And let's think about what you would say to your students, okay? If your student came up to you and said, I'm taking the, I'm a little nervous about the end of year test from the state. And most of you have students who have to take the state exam. Do you know what questions I've got to get on the state test? You would be like, no, I do not know what questions you're going to get on the state test because it's under lock and key and I have no idea. I'm doing my best to prepare you so you understand all the concepts, but I have no idea. And the student says, well, can't you tell me what the writing prompt is going to be? No. The same thing goes with me to you. It's a state standardized assessment governed by the state. They are very well secured and we can't discuss them. So you're not supposed to know what you're going to get on the exam. Just like if you give an exam in first period, if you're a high school teacher, you give an exam on first period and you keep giving the same exam all day. Guess what? By lunch, what does everybody have? The exam. So 5th, 6th, 7th period, they're killing it on the exam because they got all the questions at lunch. They don't do that. Okay. So you may get a similar exam if you are not successful on the first time you take it and then you take it again. You may not be successful and then you have to take it again. You might see a similar questions. You might get the same exact form of the test, but the way it works is that there are item banks for each content category. So there'll be item banks for phonological phonemic awareness. There's an item bank for phonics. There's an item bank for fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And inside each item bank are hundreds of test questions. When you go in to take your exam, you get Form A. Your neighbor probably has Form B. The lady taking it tomorrow has Form C. There might be 4 forms, A, B, and C, and D, okay? And then when you go in, they randomly grab questions from the item banks and put them on your test. If you are not successful and you go in the next month, 28 days later, for some, 31 days later, for others, it depends on the test you're taking, you get a different form. You could get the same form just by the way they shuffle things. You could be like, oh my God, I got the same test last time. That doesn't mean that you're always going to get the same test. And if you get a different test, that doesn't mean they all of a sudden change the exam. That's what I hear people say. They changed the test. No, they didn't. You just got a different form. There is not one form of this exam. So you might get a certain writing prompt. You might get the same one again. You might not. I just recommend not trying to memorize test questions. I want you to understand these concepts, and that's what we are going to work on today. Is in-person test down via a computer or paper? You're going to take these on the computer. Done. Yep, Carrie, you're going to take it on the computer. Now, you will not get an unofficial score. Typically, the 7002 you will, but these have writing prompts. So if you're taking the Praxis, typically you get an unofficial score before you leave, and you kind of know if you passed or not, except when there's a writing prompt. If you have to write for it, they will not give you an unofficial score. So just know that, no big deal. You got to wait until you get the email. Okay. All right. So let's get started with my presentation. We're going to start with multiple choice, and then we're going to move to constructed response, because the multiple choice is going to help you with the constructed response. Okay. So let me go ahead and share this here. All right. So one thing I want you to know is, let me see here. Let me stop sharing. I want to show you something else. Sorry. Entire screen. There we go. I want to just show you the free study guide that you got so you can sort of follow along. I'm going to pull some questions from the Foundations of Reading free study guide here. You can see it's got 10 questions. Okay. And I'm going to pull a few questions from the teaching reading one. I would download both of these and go through them both, because you get 20 questions. They're different questions. The 5205 and the 5206, they're pretty similar. So there are a couple of high school questions on here, or not high school, secondary. So that's what makes it 5205 and 5206. But go ahead and download them both. I'm going to grab questions from both of these, and you're going to know, because on my presentation, it's going to show that. And then I want you to just see sort of how these are broken up. So for the Praxis teaching reading, this is the paid study guide. So let me just show you the table of contents. You can see that we have the first part is phonological and phonemic awareness. Okay. And if you buy the digital study guide and you click here, it's hot. It'll take you to the part in the book where you want to be. Now look at all this information here. All of this information can be applied to the writing. I want you to pay attention to all this. Okay. Let me go back to here. Then we have phonics and decoding. So we start, it's a systematic approach. You want to be thinking about that when you're answering test questions. It's a systematic approach, meaning we start with the basics, we move up the ladder, we move up the system. All right. So phonological and phonemic awareness, once we've got that, they go to phonics and decoding. Then they move to, this one's kind of weird. They couple vocabulary and fluency. Typically it's fluency, then vocabulary, but they smush them together on this test, and then comprehension, and then writing. Notice that we are moving and we're getting more advanced in the reading skills, right? Then I have a whole section on assessment for this, because reading assessment is so important. You have to understand how to assess a student's reading in order to prescribe interventions. So that's really important. Then in both books, I have a good words list. I want you to think about the good words. These are the words you will see in the correct answer choices. I'm going to show you today how to do that. And the bad words, these are the words that you want to stay away from. We're going to work backwards from the answer choices. I'm going to show you how to work backwards to maximize success. The same thing goes with Foundations of Reading. They just break it up slightly differently. See how we have Foundations of Reading Development? They have phonological and phonemic awareness, then phonics, see here, then syllabication, morphology. That's part of phonics. That's smushed together in the other exam. And then fluency. Then they jump to more complex skills, meaning-based skills in terms of comprehension. And that's going to include vocabulary. So they kind of stick vocabulary under comprehension. Then, of course, reading assessment, just like the teaching reading test. And then I have the same thing. We have 2 practice tests, open response, and, of course, good words list. Now, in both study guides, I have practice questions after each section. Notice I have, this is phonological and phonemic awareness, practice test questions. So we go here, boom, this whole big section here. And you could see it's very similar to the teaching reading. And let me just do this so I don't make you dizzy. Hang on. We have these think like a test maker pop outs. Read those, really important. And then we have 10 questions just for that. And then we do it again. We do another section, and then 10 questions just for that. And what that does is it shows you what kinds of questions you're going to see. And this is done in both books. I'm just grabbing it from here. One thing I want you to be understanding of is that the answer explanations are so important, even in the free one, because they tell you why something is correct, and more importantly, why the others are incorrect. This right here, people skip over this. Please read all this. This is going to show you like how the test makers design these questions and to show you the different tips and tricks. I was trained by a testing company how to write exam questions when I worked in curriculum. I know what they do. And these answer explanations share that with you. Why is answer B incorrect? I thought it was B. Or if you guess on something and you get it right, you still want to look this over because, you know, you guessed. So please read the answer explanations. And then on the practice test, and let me just go down here for the big practice test. Sorry. I section them out. You can see that like number 58, it comes from 0005. So that you know where you're low. That way, when you're studying, you know where you are low. Okay. All right. So now let's go to here. All right. So let's do it. We are in the foundations of reading and Praxis teaching reading. Let's go ahead with some test questions. Now, I want you to work backwards from this. Let's just move this up slightly because my head is down here. I don't want to cover this. So I want you to work backwards. Some of you let me know in the chat or on social if you also work backwards, and start with your answer choices. And you might say, why would you do that? Because if you start at the top every time, you're going to read this question, then you're going to read the answer choices, then you're going to forget what you read. Instead, working backwards, you can cross off any bad words, zero in on good words, and then answer. It's going to save you time. It's going to help you locate the best answer choices. And with those big scenario problems, it's going to be very helpful. The scenario problems end up being the easiest questions on the exam once you learn how to work backwards, okay? So, and I've got some people in here, obviously, who have seen my videos and say, yes. Here's another thing. Do it in practice. Don't adopt working backwards the day of the test. Do it with your practice tests first. Then you're ready, okay? All right. So, and of course, if it's a short question with short answer choices, it doesn't work as well. But let's have a look at this one. So this is from the Foundations of Reading, the Fort. So let's read A. Encourage students to write phonetically by stretching out the sounds they hear in words. Okay, phonetically is the sounds. This looks like it's good. B. Read predictable text and ask students to identify punctuation marks. Okay, predictable text is a good word, but why would we have them identify punctuation marks? I mean, that's like lame, right? I mean, oh, that's a question mark. Oh, that's a period. I mean, that's something you might do, but that wouldn't be the focus on something. I don't like B for that reason. This is a reading test, not point out the question mark. That seems like sort of a not great thing to do. C, show students how to hold a book and track print from left to right. Okay, that's print concepts. We actually do that. We show students that we read from left to right, top to bottom as they're learning about books. So C is a strategy. D, ask students to identify uppercase letters from a set of magnetic letters. Again, identify, low level, just some red flags on those. They may be right, but I'm going to cross them off. Now I'm down 50-50, A and C. Let's read the question. Which of the following activities best integrates concepts of print and the alphabetic principle for emerging readers? Well, C is concepts of print, but not the alphabetic principle. Concepts of print is about how do we read left to right, up and down, stuff like that, cover to cover. But A is the only one that has both. You will see that on the exam where they ask you for two things and there's only one thing in all the other answer choices. That is how you want to do it. And if we further evaluate B and D, the ones we crossed off, you can see here that identifying punctuation in uppercase letters, that is concepts of print as well, but not both. A has the alphabetic principle because when you write phonetically, and stretching out sounds they hear in words, that's going to be the best answer there. All right. Plus, it's just a better situation. Okay, let's have a look at number 3. This one comes from Foundations of Reading as well. Again, answer choices. Focus on teaching the student high-frequency sight words that include AU and GHT. Focusing on sight words, we use them. But I don't know if the focus should be that. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm not going to cross it off. B, use phonemic blending activities to help students pronounce words like caught. Phonemic blending for caught? I don't know. C, teach the student to guess. Nope. Guess is out. We're not guessing. We need to understand. D, oops, I put in an extra D there. Provide explicit instruction on diphthongs and trigraphs and apply these patterns. This word here, good word on the exam. Let me talk to you about explicit, systematic, and recursive instruction really quickly. Emily, don't worry, you're going to do great on the test. Explicit means we are teaching these skills in isolation. We're not just teaching students to read, like giving them paragraphs to read and hoping that they get the phonological phonemic awareness skills and the phonics skills, right? When I was growing up in school in like the 80s, some of this stuff was taught in whole language. And let me know in the chat if you guys remember whole language. And it, it's not that it didn't work, but we know now that when we teach phonemic and phonological awareness in isolation, just teaching the sounds and words, not even looking at the letters yet, b, a, t, right? Those sounds, making those sounds without even understanding the letters yet and focusing on the sounds, that is very, very beneficial to students who are trying to read, right? When we teach phonics explicitly, sounding out specific things in words, understanding what diphthongs are and trigraphs. When I was a kid, we didn't really talk about diphthongs and trigraphs. There were rules, there were codes inside the words that we understood, but they weren't really explicitly taught. Now we do that, right? So that's explicit instruction. Systematic instruction is when you start with this skill towards the bottom and you move up to a more advanced skill and a more advanced skill and a more advanced skill. So everything's taught on a continuum because reading is learned on a continuum. First, we start with, sounding out words and speaking them, right? And listening to the sounds. Then we look down and we decode the words. Then we read strings of words together in fluency. Then we think about the vocabulary in there. Then we push it all together and do comprehension questions. You know what I mean? So it's systematic. And then recursive is going back to go forward. So sometimes we have to go back and strengthen a phonological awareness skill in order to move forward in a phonics skill, and that's okay. So here are the three main words you want to be on the lookout for: explicit, systematic, recursive instruction. Those are like ding, ding, ding. So because I have the word explicit instruction here, I like it. I'm circling it. Let's go ahead and read. A second grade student is decoding the word caught. Okay, decoding means they're sounding it out. So that's a phonics strategy. We want to keep that in mind. If they're looking at a word, it's phonics. If they're not looking at a word and they're just doing the sounds, that's phonemic awareness and phonological awareness, okay? But the student struggles with vowel teams like AU and consonant trigraphs like GHT. What is the most appropriate? This is another thing. What is the most appropriate? You'll have some things like A looks good. People say, well, why not A? It's got the AU and the GHT. It asks for the most appropriate or the most effective. The most effective is explicit instruction in diphthongs, which takes care of our vowel teams. AU is a diphthong. Go over all that in the book and in the online course. And trigraphs are three letters that make one sound. GHT makes a T sound. AU has an interesting sound. It's a vowel team that goes ah, starts at one end and moves to another, or oi. It's a vowel team. It's two vowels working together, but it makes an interesting sound. Start at the top and move down. Okay. So we need both. D covers both. Okay. But this is why, like, you really have to understand these concepts because I get this question a lot. Well, I liked A, B, and C. Well, C's out because of guess, but let's just say I like A and B too. Yeah, they're good, but explicit instruction is the most. Okay, so keep on the lookout for that. All right, let's go to the next one. Another foundations of reading. And again, just because I'm going with foundations of reading here, you guys, these are the same for teaching reading. I'm going to do some teaching reading ones next. Okay, so let's read the question or the answer choices. A, inflectional morphemes change the word's meaning, while derivational morphemes change the word's part of speech. And then we have inflectional morphemes indicate grammatical relationships, And then we go on and on. So this is one where I can't really eliminate based on good words, bad words, but here's another strategy with testing. Sometimes you'll get answers like this where they're talking about two things. And in this case, they're talking about distinguishes between inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes. And they'll say inflectional morphemes do this while derivational morphemes do that. And then they'll flip it. Inflectional morphemes do that while derivational morphemes do this. And then the next one will be like, it'll be like a mix and matching of the same thing here. Okay. So this is where we can eliminate things, but you have to understand what inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes are. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So let me just erase a few things so I have room here. That's a small eraser. Please hold. There we go. All right. Much better. Okay. So inflectional morphemes. Inflectional morphemes do not change the word at all. So let's just say we have the word jump. Pardon my bad handwriting. If we added a jumps here with an S, right? That's a morpheme. Morphemes are the smallest units of meaning in a word. They could be prefixes, suffixes. They could be EDs and S's and LYs and things like that. This is a phonics question because when we are talking about morphemes, we are looking at the word and we are observing prefixes, suffixes, understanding what they mean, right? So in jumps, it's still a verb to, like jump up. I don't even know what the exact definition of jump is. I guess to rise in the air or push off your feet and rise in the air. Okay. This just makes it plural. It doesn't change the part of speech. It doesn't change the definition. Same with if I did jumped. ED just makes it past tense. It doesn't change the fact that it's a verb. It doesn't change the meaning. Okay. So that's an inflectional morpheme. Okay. A derivational morpheme, and the way I remember it is that like derivational derails the word. That's sort of the way I come up with like weird things to remember things. But a derivational morpheme does change the part of speech and or the meaning. So let's have the word happy. Okay? Happy. I am happy. So this is an adjective. The dog was happy. It is a happy girl. It's kind of a simple adjective, okay? I would probably choose a different word if I were writing, but this is easy, right? If I put a derivational unhappy in front of it, I didn't necessarily change the part of speech. It's still an adjective, but I completely changed the definition, right? I went from, I guess we'll say the word content, excited, something like that, to discontent, the opposite, right? So that's a derivational morpheme. Further, let's say that I turn it into happiness. Now I went from an adjective to a verb. I'm sorry, to a noun. I went from an adjective to a noun. I changed the part of speech. So inflection does not change the part of speech or do anything. Derivational does. So let's go ahead and find our answer choice. A, inflectional morpheme changes the word's meaning. Right away, A is out. Notice that if I know what derivational and inflectional morphemes do, I don't have to read this whole answer choice because the beginning part is wrong. B, inflectional morphemes indicate grammatical relationships. Okay, the S and the ED, that is grammatical, past tense, present tense, right? While derivational morphemes create new words or change the word's part of speech. Yeah. Happy, unhappy, new word. And happy, happiness, part of speech. B looks like it's my answer. Let's discredit C and D. Inflectional morphemes only apply to verbs. No. And here's a little trick. Think like a test maker, guys. Only, never, well, I don't want to get, it's typically not the right answer unless like it's a very unique question. Only, never, unequivocally, solely. Anything, we call that strong language in testing. And strong language in testing indicates that it's probably not the correct answer. So be, wary of words like only, never, always, things like that. Okay. And D, inflectional morphemes occur at the beginning of the word while derivational occur at the end. No, because remember, happiness, I can put it here. I can put it here. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter. So D is out. B is the best answer. And again, there's going to be patterns like that in the answer choices. Have a look. Sometimes you can grab and go, but I always like to discredit the others the way I like to do things. All right. Last one. I think this is nope. We got two more. Okay. We have two more for foundations of reading. Okay. So let's have a look at our answer choices. A, using phoneme graphing mapping to improve word recognition. Okay, phoneme graphing is another word for letter sound correspondence. This is phonics. It's just always good to know what the answer choice is talking about. Pre-teaching background knowledge related to the text topics. Ooh, I like background knowledge. This helps with fluency. It helps with comprehension. It's a great strategy. Encourage silent reading to develop prosody. No. Now, quickly, I love silent reading, guys. I used it a lot in my classrooms. Those of you who have been on my webinars before, you know, you have to model silent reading. You can't say, okay, everybody, it's time for silent reading. Get out your books. They get out their books and they start to read and you go sit at your desk and put in grades. What do? They talk to each other. They don't read because you're at your desk. And that's what anybody would really do. Even adults do that, right? You have to model it. So when you say, okay, everybody, let's all take out our books, you take out your book and you sit in the front of the room and you model those behaviors. That's the only way to get kids to read silently. If you are not walking around or modeling and you go back to your desk, and I know we all need time at our desk. I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I had to go to my desk and do things too. They're not going to do it. So if they're doing something on their own, like working in groups or something, you got to be walking around the room. This is just a quick teacher tip. Don't sit, right? Or you should be modeling the behavior, especially if it's silent, sustained reading for 15, 20 minutes at a time or whatever you're giving the students, right? I had to do that with high schoolers. If I had them reading silently, I had to model the behavior. And I ended up liking it because I got to read silently for 20 minutes each class on Fridays or whatever we had. So that was fun. All right, but that's out. And another thing, silent sustained reading is typically a bad word on this exam. I love silent sustained reading. I think it helps students when done properly. But on this test, it's usually attached to someone who's struggling. So I wouldn't do it. Now, again, I'm walking through these very slowly to kind of show you the patterns on the exam. You're not going to do this. You're going to see this and move on quickly, okay? But part of my job today is to show you why things are wrong, why you should be, suspicious of different things, right? D, modeling fluent reading and practicing phrase cued reading. This has all the good stuff in it. First of all, modeling, yes. How do we teach students how to read fluently? We model it. Those of you who have had like incredible kindergarten teachers, my mother was a kindergarten teacher. My mom reads a story like you wouldn't believe. She models fluent reading like a kindergarten teacher. And phrase cued reading, you're going to see this a lot with fluency. That's where you kind of chunk out phrases and you read them with prosody. So I love D because it has all the good words, but I'm not sure what's going on yet. Let's read the question. Again, the question stem says, which strategy would best support? A, B, and C might support, but we're looking for the best. And D is still in the running as the number one. A teacher observes that a student reads fluently, but without appropriate expression when encountering academic text with complex sentence structures. What strategy would be best? In this case, it's modeling. Phoneme graphing mapping, that's phonics. That's too low of a skill. If there's still phoneme graphing mapping, that's letter sound correspondence. They're in the phonics stage. They're not reading academic texts. And again, for my 5206 people, this would be a good test question because middle and high school kids are reading academic texts more frequently. And this could be a question you might see or one like it on your test. So that would be out. And then pre-teaching background knowledge, that would help. I'm not saying that wouldn't help, but modeling and doing phrase cued reading with complex academic text is going to be better. D, all day. All right, let's have a look at number 10. A, have students practice reading aloud in class. Probably not the correct answer. Reading aloud is a really good strategy. Here's a quick tip for those of you who have a hard time getting volunteers to read aloud in class. When I would do read aloud, think aloud with my students, high school students, I always had the same students raising their hands to read. And when we would read aloud, I'd have to break up the reading and be like, okay, who's next? Who wants to read next? Come on, guys, somebody raise their hand. High school kids are like, no, I'm not doing it, So what I started doing is before we started reading aloud in class, I would take volunteers. Who's going to read for me today? And I would put their names down on a sticky note. So I did not have to stop and be like, come on, somebody read, please, somebody raise your hand, And then that was kind of a safe zone. I didn't call on you. Some kids do not like to read aloud in class. Some kids are in ESOL. They don't have the language yet to read aloud in class. So just popcorn reading is gotcha reading. I don't love that. I like to get a list of willing participants, put them down, and then I can call on them as many times as I want because they volunteered. And what will happen is because you've created that safe space for reading aloud in class, more kids will raise their hand in subsequent days to read. I promise you. I even had my ESOL kids practicing because it becomes a safe place to read aloud. So little tip on reading aloud in class, but it's probably not the right answer on this test. B, read aloud to students so they can hear fluency. Okay, this is modeling. That's modeling, not bad. C, reference student data and determine what skills students are lacking. Ooh, data-driven decisions. I like C. D, ask the reading teacher for a list of students who struggle with reading. Okay, not bad either. I would love it if I was teaching reading and somebody asked me for a list of struggling students, because then I'd be like, oh, you're helping me. Great. Let's read the question. How can a content area teacher enhance students' experiences with content area text? This would be a good one for 5206 as well. A lot of people teaching middle and high have to take 5206. If you're teaching social studies, you're a content area teacher. If you're teaching science, you're a content area teacher. How can you enhance students' experience with content area text? Guess what? The data. This is where you want to be first and foremost. This is the best way. Why? Because you read the data, you disaggregate it, you figure out this kid's low in comprehension, this kid's low in fluency, this kid struggles with vocab, and I'm teaching science and it's really heavy with vocab. And then you can apply strategies to that. But A, B, and D are also not bad. If I were the reading teacher and a science teacher came to me and said, hey, can you give me a list of all the kids that I have that struggle with reading so that I can help them? That would put more work on me to like generate the list, but I would be thrilled to do it because anytime a content area teacher wants to teach reading strategies, I was always like, so like, what else can I do? You want to know what strategies to use? I was like totally on them and would have done anything just to help them do that. But really, you should be doing that yourself. Grab the data, determine what skills they're lacking, and then apply those interventions. So C is the best answer. All right, now we're moving into the Praxis Teaching Reading Free Study Guide. I'm going to do a few things here. All right, I have this word not, and I've got some short answer choices here. So I'm just going to read the question first. Which of the following would not be a systematic instructional strategy used in phonemic awareness? Okay, we have a couple things here. We have systematic instructional strategy. So that's, starts down here and then moves up to the next skill and the next skill. Also, we have the term phonemic awareness. Okay. A, identifying beginning sounds in words. Sounds, yes. B, clapping syllables. No. This is phonological. I'm going to talk to you about the difference in a minute. Awareness. C, identifying ending sounds in words. Okay. Beginning and ending sounds in words. Okay. I like that one too. And deleting sounds in words. Ooh, deleting sounds in words. Those are all phonemic awareness. Which one is not phonemic awareness? Because we have a not here. Oh, I got to do the opposite. It's going to be B. Let me go ahead and erase that. See, that's why sometimes you got to reread the question stem just quickly. Okay, we have sounds, sounds, sounds. When we are talking about sounds in words, we're talking about phonemic awareness or phonological awareness. Here's the difference between the two. And I literally just got tagged in a comment. I get people ask this all the time because it's so hard to, let me go ahead and I'm going to add a blank screen here. Okay. Let's talk about the difference between the two. Okay. So we've got phonemic and phonological. Okay. Phonemic awareness is a little harder. It's arguably a more complex skill. Phonological is arguably a little bit easier. Phonemic awareness equals individual sounds in words. So for example, in the word click, it would be k, o, I, k. The CK makes one sound. Now, again, I'm writing the word out for you here just to sort of demonstrate. But if you were doing this with students, you would not write the word. We would do this all by listening and speaking. When I was getting certified in reading, the reading coach told us you can do phonemic and phonological awareness in the dark. That's how you need to remember this. You do not have to see the word, okay? So, k, o, I, k. Notice we broke it up by individual sounds. Phonological are bigger sounds. Cool, ick. Onset, rhyme. Onset is the consonant or consonant cluster sound. Rhyme is the vowel plus the consonant or consonant cluster sound. Okay. Notice it's just two sounds, kl, ik. Phonemic awareness is k, ul, ik. Same thing with zoom. Phonemic awareness would be z, u, right? Phonemic awareness would be z, consonant, vowel sound, followed by the consonant sound together. There's some blending here, okay? Now, phonological awareness could also be syllables. Rabbit, two sounds based on the syllables. So phonological are bigger sounds, phonemic awareness, much smaller, much more nuanced. So if we're looking at this question here, it says, which one would not be systematic in phonemic awareness? It would be clapping syllables because that's a bigger sounds in words. And the rest of these, identifying beginning sounds, identifying ending sounds, and deleting sounds, those could all be phonemic awareness. And you will see those in the book and in my online course. And I have a video I'll show you on TikTok, and we'll link it up in the description. My colleague Yana is really good at hearing me talk about things and making sure we put them in the email. Sorry, not the description, the email that you're going to get at the end of this. If you're watching in the future, you already got it. So there's a continuum video I have that'll help you. We also go into great detail in the online course, but we'll link that up in the email so you can have a look at more of that. Okay. So that's why B is the best answer, because we're looking for the not answer choice. Okay. So phonological awareness is decoding of words. No. Decoding, you have to look at words. So let me go back here. Now, phonics, I want you to think about this as an I. It's a really bad I. Phonics, you have to see the word. You can do phonemic and phonological awareness in the dark. I could say to you, and you don't have to write it. I could say to you, how many sounds in the word click? And you'd go, k, ul, I, k, 4 sounds. Or I could say, hey, break up the word click by its onset and rhyme. And kids know how to do this. They've learned onset and rhyme, and they'd go, cool, ick. I didn't have to see it. I'm doing it all by sounds. Phonics, you have to see it to go, here's what click would look like. This CK is a digraph. It's two vowels making one sound. So you have to know that in phonics. Or if you see the word phonics, how do we know this P and this H makes an F sound? Because it's a code. Phonics is decoding words, looking at the P and the H on X. We are assigning letters to the sound, or sounds to the letters, I should say, but you have to look at it. Phonemic awareness and phonological awareness are totally separate from phonics, you guys. And that's why this test is so nuanced. And that's why you really need to invest some time in understanding this. If you try to memorize test questions, you're going to get one like this. And if you don't understand the difference, you're not going to be able to answer it correctly. Okay. So please really dig in. And again, I have lots of videos on this. And of course, I have an online course where I beat it into your head. You'll leave there and you'll never mistake them again. Okay. But when you think of phonics, think about decoding. You have to look at the word. Okay. All right. This is number 4 in the Praxis Teaching Reading Free one. All right. Again, I just have skills here, so I can't really do much. Let's read the question. I'm going to go with I still work backwards when I read the question. I'm all over the place. I never read anything from top to bottom. I think it's a little bit to do with my ADHD, but in this case, it serves me. So which of the following would be the most appropriate next step in the teaching sequence? Okay, right away, this is a continuum question or a systematic question. Next step. You will get questions like this on the exam where they give you a skill. And in this case, it's students have mastered consonant sounds and short vowel sounds. So it's going to be like bat, right? Consonant, short vowel sounds. Now, this could be phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, but as I look at the answer choices, I can see that this is a phonics question. We're still talking short and long sounds and consonant sounds. We're just looking at the letter. When we look at the letter here, this is phonics. So consonant, short vowel, what's the next step? Well, you have to know the phonics continuum, and it's in the book, Working on Silent Letters to Advanced. You don't go from bat to no. You just don't, right? KN, GN, GH, silent letters are high level. B, R controlled vowel sounds, another advanced. That's letter. ER, vowel, R controlled, too high. Blend long vowel sounds with consonants. Okay, that makes sense. We have short vowel sounds with consonants, long vowel sounds. That looks like it might be it. D, identify vowel combinations. This is where, again, D, could be the distractor. Combinations are vowel teams, too advanced. It's slightly more advanced than this. Vowel teams are things like EA, AU. They could also be diphthongs. That's more complicated. So make sure you always check out those continuums I have in the book. And I also have a lot of videos on this. I'm going to show you where to get those as well if you're trying to piece together your own sort of study plan. Okay, here we have another thing from Praxis, teaching reading and writing, speaking and listening, reading, speaking and writing. Okay, notice from the answer choices, they're kind of mixing and matching the different skills. All right, a teacher wants to work on students' expressive vocabulary. What would be the most effective activity? So when it comes to vocabulary, we have expressive and we have receptive. Expressive means to give, right? To express, to speak, and to write. Receptive vocabulary means to receive, reading and listening, right? So those are out. If we're looking for expressive, we're looking for speaking and writing, and A and B are out because this is receptive, this is expressive, this is expressive, this is receptive. Let me just expressive, receptive. Express. I express myself when I speak and when I write, right? You read one of my emails, you're reading what I expressed. Receptive is reading. You're receiving the information. And listening. All right, make sure you know that for the exam. Super easy. Okay, number 8. Reading through the text, only stopping at words he or she needs to decode, reading with inflection and expression, reading effortlessly at greater than 95%, reading through the text using sight words. Okay, looks like a fluency situation. If a student is reading with automaticity, the student is right here, effortlessly. This is not automatic. If you're stopping at words to sound them out, to decode, even if it's just a few, it's too much. That's not automatic. B, reading with inflection. This is prosody. It is part of fluency, but it's a different skill. Effortlessly reading through the text at greater than 95% accuracy. That is automaticity. They're cooking. They're moving through. And reading through the text using sight words, that's kind of a lame nonsense answer. Sight words, you'll see it on the test. Sometimes it's the right strategy, but it's really about orthographic mapping and memorization. So this is not something that I would assign to that. All right, this is our last one. Then we're going to move into the constructed response. But again, look at what we're doing here. I just want you to be aware. We've got, concepts of print, diphthongs versus trigraphs, morphemes, inflectional derivational. We've got, what are these? Fluency strategies, modeling, phrase cued reading. We've got, what do we have here? Oh, looking at data to make instructional decisions. Oh yeah, that would be good in a writing prompt or in a response. We've got the difference between phonemic awareness and phonological. Look at these. Identifying beginning sounds and words, ending sounds and words, and deleting sounds. Those are all strategies. Clapping syllables is a strategy. So as you're writing these or answering questions correctly, think about them for when it comes to the open response. Okay, last question. Okay. These are big answer choices. This is where working backwards can really help you. Okay. Michi, so we look at the answers first before the question, working backwards. Yes, that's what I say, especially for ones like this, big ones like this. These ones here where you just have like one answers, or one or two answer in the answer choices, you're not going to be able to do this one by working backwards. But something like this with the big old long scenario, let me show you. The teacher should have the student focus on spelling because spelling is phonics, yes, and phonics is a necessary part of comprehension. That is true. That is true. So focusing on phonics explicitly, that's good. B, the teacher should have the student take a diagnostic test, okay, assessment, and then have the reading coach work with the student. Nope, that's out. Farming out your responsibility to the reading coach is typically not the right answer. Do we love our reading coaches and need them to work with us? Yes. Thank you, reading coaches. Those of you in here taking the 5302, Charla, and a few other of you, the others of you, thank you so much for being reading coaches or reading specialists. Yes, we lean on them on this test. It's your job, not theirs, to do the work. C, the teacher should use a running record to record the miscues the student demonstrates. All right, that's pretty good too. Let's look at D. The teacher should focus on fluency and automaticity strategies for the student because proper fluency and automaticity will reduce the cognitive demand needed for decoding, leaving more cognitive space for comprehension. What do we got here? I mean, that one's got all the good stuff, right? We've got focusing on automaticity. We've got cognitive demand, all of that. D looks like it's got all the good stuff in it. And I didn't even have to read the question. I'm going to read the question now. A student is struggling during reading. The student often stops when encountering high frequency words and tries to decode them. This interrupts the reading and makes it difficult for the student to understand the meaning of the text. Which of the following interventions should the teacher employ? So the teacher is trying to get the student to stop the brakes. And I'm sure you guys have seen this if you're a reading teacher already. Students reading and then they stop and they sound out every word and you're like, oh my gosh, it feels like so exhausting. And you just want to like help the student, We want to make sure we're focusing on those fluency skills because as the student's moving quickly through the text, they are freeing up cognitive demand in their brains so they can build pictures in their minds and predict and all of that. Comprehension is pretty complex. We take it for granted if you're an adult and you're a good reader. I didn't really get comprehension, to be honest with you guys, till I was a sophomore in college reading complex text. If they had some of these tests when I was a kid, I don't know if I would have been. I'd probably be in intensive reading. I had a hard time reading aloud. It's one of those things that as an adult you get better with. But when we are reading something, you know how you build those pictures in your mind and you're kind of like wondering what's going to happen next. You can't do that if you're sounding out every word. So in order to get kids to comprehend, you have to get them cooking. And you know it, like if you haven't read in a while and you've been on TikTok for like the last month and you go to read something and you're like you can't read it. It's like, you're just like, what is that word? And then you read for a couple hours, your brain starts to get through that and your cognitive demand for sounding out words is fine and you can get the comprehension. But it's just like running. If you get off your couch and go for a run right now and you haven't run in 3 days or 5 weeks or whatever, it's not going to go real well. So the same thing goes with reading. And D is going to be the best answer here. Now, look at this. Cognitive demand, fluency. That is something like if you adapted this answer choice in your writing, like if you got a comprehension question and you're talking about freeing up cognitive demand by using fluency, you're going to get a good score on that. All right. Let me show you what's going on with the open responses. Okay. So we're done with the multiple choice. I'm going to move to the open response here. I went a little slow on the multiple choice because I want you to kind of absorb the information and apply it now to this. We're going to start with the foundations of reading open response, but I'm also going to do a constructed response for teaching reading. Okay. They're structured a little differently. Let me show you the pattern that you're going to see on the open response because patterns, they're everything on tests. Okay. Let me just move this up so my face is out of the way here. Okay. When you are writing an open response, this should say, sorry, I should have fixed this. It's fixed in the, you're going to get a PDF for those of you in the course. And if you're watching in the future, you already got it. You're going to get a PDF of the constructed response. So when we're done today, it's going to get emailed to you. And I fixed this part. This should say, knowledge of comprehension. I fixed it. Or is this? No, it's fluency. I'm sorry. This is right. Sorry. The next one is comprehension. Sorry. On the task for foundations of reading, it's going to look the same. It's going to say using your knowledge of foundational skills, or it'll say using your knowledge of comprehension skills. Write a response 150 to 300 words in which and then it's going to have 4 bullets and it's all going to be the same. Identify a strength, identify a need, also called a weakness, but they use strengths-based vocabulary. So identify a strength, identify a need based on the data, and then based on the need you identified, based on that second bullet, a strategy, and then why you used it, why it would be good. This is just a rationale. So we have 4 bullets: strength, weakness, Based on the weakness, what would you do? What strategy? And then why does that strategy work? That's all you have to do. Now you can make it 4 paragraphs. I always like to make each bullet its own paragraph because it makes it easy on the grader and it helps you organize your writing. You could also combine bullets 1 and 2. Let me just go ahead and delete this so I can show you. You could have 4 paragraphs here, paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to show you actually do it that way. Or you could combine 1 and 2 so that your strength is one part of the first paragraph and your need is the second part. And then your second paragraph would be the strategy and the rationale. You could break it up like that too. But the reason why I say break up your writing in this way, because you do not want to make it hard on the person grading your essay. Why would you do that to them? English teachers out there know, I was an English teacher also. When you're reading bad papers over and over again, and then you see a paper that's organized with like all the ideas like in the right place, it doesn't even have to be that good of writing. You're like, oh my God, I love this student. This student is a genius because they just made your life easier. Where everybody else was all jumbled up all over the place, make it organized. That's the best way to improve your score. Okay. So another thing, did I just work backwards? Yes, I did. Don't start up at the top at the scenario and then go to the task. Start with your task. And here's why. We're talking fluency. Why would you read first? I'm going to come up with fluency strategies in my head. Repeated reading, modeling prosody, phrase cued reading, whatever it is that you've got. I like repeated reading. For fluency, I think repeated reading, read it again, read it again, read it again is the best thing. And I only have to do one instructional strategy. So do repeated reading if you're good with that and you know how to explain it. Or let's say you flake and you're like, oh my God, I don't know. Modeling proper fluency. Why does modeling work? Because it helps students see an actual example. It's all good. Now, once I've got that in my head, I've got fluency. Repeated reading is my go-to strategy. Now I can read. Let me go ahead and pull this down. Now I can read the scenario. Now I've got it in my head already. Work backwards. I'm telling you, start with the task. And again, the task for the foundation of reading, they're all going to be the same. It's just that this is going to change to comprehension skills. You're going to get one on foundation, one on comprehension skills. And instead of fluency, it might say vocab or comprehension. And then you're always going to have a strength and a need. You're always going to have to identify a strategy, and you're always going to have to give a rationale. So start clicking with that formula, plug and play. All right, let's, again, continuing to work backwards. I like to read the bullets because it's easier to read. Let's go here. Total words read, 85. Okay. They're at grade level in terms of total words read. And you might have a whole picture. There might be a chart. It doesn't matter. They're giving you all this stuff. You really just need to know what strategy you're going to use. Errors 12, and it says he frequently self-corrects. So even though we had a lot of errors, he frequently self-corrects. That's a strength, knowing that I messed up. Okay, so I'm getting in my mind weakness, words correct per minute, only 85%. That's not automatic. He needs to bump this up. Remember, automatic is greater than 95%. 85% is missing 15% of the words, and that's a lot. And pace is only a 2 out of 4. So he's struggling. He read 85 words, but to get there, it was a tough go. All right. So right away, I'm thinking my strength is that he self-corrects and he's at grade level in terms of the number of words he read. Weakness here, he's not reading enough correct words per minute. He's significantly below automatic, and his pace is a little slow. He's got some errors. All right. Now, how am I going to set this up? Oh, and also you get scratch paper. So just grab write some things down for yourself. Remember, we're going to use repeated reading here. And now I can fill everything in. I know what I'm going to do. Let's have a look. And again, I did 4 paragraphs, but you could combine these 2. And I'm also going to show you how to, you can reduce these. Some of you, I have a doctorate in educational leadership. I've been teaching reading for a lot of years. I wrote the book on reading. I'm going to have lots of fancy words to talk about this. You're a brand new teacher. You've never taught reading before. We can make this a lot more simple. And I'm going to show you. I just want to give you the whole shebang here, so you have a lot to choose from. That's why I'm doing this. All right. So You know what I didn't do? I didn't read the scenario. Ms. Patel is monitoring her second grade student, Noah. Okay, so I have his name. She conducts a one-time oral reading fluency. Notice I didn't really have to even read this, but I have his name, Noah, and Ms. Patel is the teacher. Okay. And then she observes Noah frequently pauses. Here's another need. He will often reread strings of words. Okay. My daughter used to do that. She'd read it correctly and then she'd reread it again. I'm like, you got it, just go. So anyways, all right, let's do this. So strength. Noah demonstrates a significant strength in his reading fluency pace as evident by his ability to read 85 words in 1 minute, which is appropriate for his grade level. He also frequently self-corrects. So I did 2 strengths here. You only needed 1. I just wanted to include 2 for you. Madison, yes, the fort is the same as the 5205. I'm about to do the 5025 next. 5205 next. However, and here comes the need, he often hesitates on words and phrases, even when he knows them. This indicates lack of confidence while reading aloud. His overall accuracy is just 85%. There are some, that's the need. All right. Now, you could combine those so that after you said indicating he understands and can identify words correctly. Let me show you. You could also do this. Trying to get my... See how I made it 1 paragraph there? It works. And I got right into it. I didn't he's reading, doing all this stuff. Just get to the point. Noah's strength is this. Noah's weakness is that. Okay. That's it. All right. Now, here comes the strategy. Noah would benefit from repeated reading practice. Notice I didn't put a lot of fluff. I'm just saying Noah would benefit from this. Or the strategy the teacher should use is this. Make it very direct. Light it up and tell the person grading your essay, this is what I would do, okay? Be direct. A lot of people have a problem being direct. Be direct. The teacher can select a short passage. Now, this is where we start to get specific. I'm a little general here. Repeated reading. Okay, what is that? Now let's define it. This is my little formula here. Do the strategy, define the strategy. The teacher can select a short passage or decodable text at Noah's instructional reading level and have him read the same passage multiple times. I included this. You don't have to do this. The teacher can even model fluent reading during the first reading by demonstrating appropriate pacing, expression, and accuracy. Notice how I'm getting very specific on how this strategy can be used. This is what will take you from failing the reading to passing the reading. 9 times out of 10, when I talk to people about their reading, and I don't know what you're doing wrong, and I've got like thousands of teachers who email us. I'm not going to be able to answer this question without seeing your test. People keep saying, well, people will email, what am I doing wrong? I don't know till I see your writing, and I can't see your writing. But from my experience, what's happening is you're being too general. You're not getting specific enough about it, okay? Noah would then practice reading the passage aloud while the teacher provides guidance. I'm getting real specific here. You don't have to do all this. You could just do Noah would benefit from repeated reading, define it, and then say the teacher can model the reading, the first read, and then he can read after that and repeat it, right? Over several sessions, the teacher can track Noah's progress by recording his words correct per minute, noting improvements. Now, again, you don't need all 4 of these sentences. You can grab the first 3, you could grab the first 2 and the last one. I'm just giving you lots of stuff here you can choose from. You do not have to go this crazy, but what you do need to do is to tell them which instructional strategy you're using, define the strategy, and then get specific. For example, Noah can read the passage aloud and the teacher can annotate any mistakes. Then he can go back and read however you want to get specific on it. Now we get to the rationale. This instructional strategy would be effective for Noah because repeated reading helps build automaticity. That could be it. That could be your last sentence here. And you fulfilled the 4th bullet, but let's go on. By recognizing words quickly and accurately, by repeatedly encountering the same words and phrases, Noah will become a more confident, because that was part of the thing, become more confident in his ability to decode and read them aloud without hesitation. You could put a period there. That could be your last sentence on this second paragraph. I go on. And again, you're going to get this in your email when we're done here. And if you're in the future, you already got it. But that's going to that does it. There's a lot of extra stuff here because I'm trying to give you everything, but that would be fine. You could do that. You could attach these last two, or these first two sentences and just put them right here, and you could do a 2-paragraph response. I like 4 because it's like boom, 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 check, 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 check. So that works. Again, I went with the strategy I like the most, repeated reading. Somebody was asking, will you be going over a running record example? This is a running record example. This is data from a running record. You're asking me about the actual running record with the picture of the running record, right? It doesn't matter what the picture says. Don't get caught up with the graphics. This is probably, let me just show you here. Got a lot of writing on here. What you will see sometimes on test day or in the practice, you'll have this will be at the bottom. So you'll have the running record with all the mistakes, I think is what you're asking, Elise. So like you have I have one in my book. Hang on. Let me show it to you. Oh, I lost my pen. Hang on. Please hold, guys. Okay. Sorry. I'm going to project this. Let me go over here. Bear with me. Is this the foundation? Okay. Nope, that's the free. Sorry. Go here. Here it is. Are you talking about this, Elise? When you see something like this, and then you see something like this underneath it? That's probably what you're talking about. It doesn't matter. This, in my opinion, is fluff. There's some good information in here because you're talking about what the student does correctly. There's some specific words underlined, but really, if you see this is a fluency read. It doesn't matter if you use repeated reading, modeling, none of that. This is in my book. Now they have their own. This is my own. I made this one, but this is what a running record looks like. Those reading teachers out there know. This is what the teacher marks up. But listen, it doesn't matter. This is important too, because it gives you specific things you can put. But what can we do here? If she's having trouble, I'm going to do repeated reading. That's my go-to strategy. I don't care what kind of fluency scenario I get. Repeated reading is going to help. Don't get caught up on the scenario. You have to identify the strategy that you are really good at writing to. Same thing goes with teaching reading. You might get something crazy big like this. Guess what? It's fluency. So it could be repeated reading. You could work on prosody. You could model. You could do listen to the passage by someone else reading it and reading aloud. All of that works. Lots of different strategies here, okay? This information here will help you with the specific details in saying, okay, she struggles with this. This girl is at a 96% accuracy. So she's got good strength and accuracy, right? But there's a few things that she's having a hard time with in here. Repeated reading is still going to help. It doesn't matter. So we've got a few things here, and you might see, some of the bigger words like pollution, environment, she's messing those. Just bring those in. Repeated reading. It doesn't matter what the strategy is. You just have to defend it, which is what we're doing. Okay. I know it looks confusing and everything, but if you just go with a good strategy and you defend why, you're good to go. All right. Let me go back to here. Okay. So that's what I would do for this one. Let's talk about the teaching reading. Now, the teaching reading might be different. You also might have a big old data set. Same thing. You might have comprehension data. I don't know. There's going to be 3 different ones. You might have one from foundations of reading, vocab, comprehension, writing. Get some of those strategies in. Okay. So let's talk about the constructed response. And again, this is going to help you if you are a foundations of reading too, because even though their tasks are slightly different, you want to be able to pull a strategy very quickly. Okay. So again, I'm working backwards. Task 1, identify and describe a research-based comprehension strategy the teacher can implement. Do I have to read the scenario to know a research-based comprehension strategy? No, I have one already. Read aloud, think aloud. Thinking aloud while students are reading helps to build metacognition, which is essential for comprehension. I don't even care what the scenario says. Okay. And then of course, explain why it's effective. And my second, identify and describe an assessment the teacher can use to monitor the student's progress. Now we have an assessment. Guess what a good assessment is, no matter what? Formative assessment, observation. It's an assessment, and it's a very powerful tool. So an assessment this teacher can use is observation, a formative assessment to progress monitor. And again, I could write this whole thing without even reading the scenario. I don't recommend that. I would read the scenario, but let's have a look. Second grade teacher is concerned about a student who struggles with reading comprehension. The student can decode words accurately, but has difficulty understanding and remembering key details from the text. This kid needs metacognition. When asked comprehension questions, the student often provides vague or incorrect responses. This would also be something on the foundations of reading, you guys. Right now, I have 2 paragraphs. Why? Because I had 2 tasks, paragraph 1, paragraph 2. And I knew I was going to do read aloud, think aloud before I even started. So I'm good. And I get right into it. One effective research-based strategy for improving student reading comprehension is read aloud, think aloud. Now I define it. In this strategy, a teacher reads a text aloud while modeling good word. Notice I'm implementing good words as well. Metacognitive thinking by verbalizing their thoughts, predictions, questions. Read aloud, think aloud is when we read aloud and I go, that's an interesting word. I wonder what that means. Let me see if I can read around the word. You kind of talk out your thought process to teach students how to use their brains. And again, for example, specific example, I show you, I don't tell you. For example, the teacher might say, I wonder why the character feels this way. Let me reread to find clues. By regularly practicing think alouds, the student will learn to actively monitor understanding and make meaning from text. Good, check. You don't even need all that, but it works. Now I'm going into the assessment. Now I'm answering the question. To monitor the student's progress, the teacher can use a formative observation with anecdotal notes during reading activities. Now I'm going to describe what that is. This involves systematically, good word. Remember, if you sprinkle in some of those good words from my good words list into your writing, you're going to keep getting a higher score. Recording the student's responses, engagement, and comprehension strategies in a structured way over time. For example, the teacher might note whether the student is making predictions, asking clarifying questions, or recalling key details. This form of assessments, anecdotal notes capture real-time insights into the student's comprehension process, allowing the teacher to adjust strategies and provide targeted support. Another good word. So again, it's a little fancy. If you're new to teaching, you may not be able to come up with this, but here's the thing. Get a reading strategy for comprehension. Could also be, using semantic mapping. It could be graphic organizers. Perhaps the student has a graphic organizer that the teacher created, and later the student creates their own. It could be any way in which you want to improve comprehension. Have one strategy for every skill. Phonemic awareness, maybe it's deletion. Phonological awareness, maybe it's clapping syllables. Phonics, maybe it's decoding words and blending sounds. Fluency, repeated reading. Vocab, maybe you do word sorts or word walls, okay? Comprehension, metacognitive strategies. Read aloud, think aloud. Grab a strategy, hold on to it, and then apply it to whatever you get on the test. And that's going to help you. Okay, what questions do you have? I'm back in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing here. We are almost done. I just want to make sure you guys are good. Remember, the writing is all about using the good words in your writing and also using the strategies we learned. As you ask some questions, I'm going to show you again where to get more free videos because it's been an hour and a half. I really admire you guys for staying on with me this long. Let's go ahead. And first of all, some of you were asking about other tests. I have live webinars pretty much every Saturday. Next week, it's 5025. I know it gets confusing with Praxis exams. This is the early childhood education. And then I'm doing Praxis Core the following week. And so that'll help you with those. This week was this. You're going to get the replay in your email. And again, if you're watching in the future, and you're going to get this writing I just did. So you're going to get it in about 20 minutes. Don't worry. Beyond that, of course, we have the study guide that I talked to you about, the one that I projected and showed you. Lots of writing prompts in here. And then, of course, you can go to the physical copy here, and it'll take you to Amazon. If you want the physical copy from us, you're getting the digital copy. The offer code will not work here on Amazon, guys. We can't offer codes on Amazon. It will work in our website. So the 20% off that you got in the chat and later in the email, it will work on our website only. It will not work on Amazon. But if you want a physical book, that's okay. Again, our online courses are here. I highly recommend our online courses. They look like this. You can just close that out. Quizzes, videos, everything to help you with this. And it comes with, the digital book. So you can see here, you just grab, where's it? Digital study guide. You click this and you download it to your computer and you save it and it works. We also have the audio courses. Audio courses are amazing. If you want, get the Foundations of Reading digital book and grab the Teaching Reading audio course. Totally works fine. I don't have one for Foundations of Reading yet, an audio course. I will soon, but it's going to be pretty much the same thing, just different order. Let's see. Okay. YouTube. In YouTube, I have a teaching reading playlist. Go to this playlist. If you're one of those who doesn't want to spend a lot of money, please watch. How many videos do I have here? It might be hard to watch every video. Oh, there's a lot of videos here. You can watch every video. I mean, you'd be very sick of me, but that's okay. You can watch those. Also, we have other live webinars. The test strategy here, some of the things that I talk about are here. Writing an essay, this particular playlist is going to help you with constructed response. I have a write every day exercise. If those of you who struggle, that'll help you, and it's totally free. Also, I'm on TikTok. I love TikTok. I'm having a really good time here. I'm doing a lot of SAT math, but I'm also doing tons of teacher certification. You can see on TikTok, this phonemic awareness continuum here is what we were talking about, the systematic. I've got a lot of different videos here for you. We've got phonemic awareness, phonological. If you like TikTok, you like short form video, I'm here teaching all the time. Of course, we are on Facebook and Instagram and all that as well. So if you are, looking for any of that, you can find that there. Okay, let's go back up. Okay, we have a lot of questions. KJ, after this, can you go over another response question asked for comprehension strategies? We have that on the online course and in the book. I'm not going to go over it again today because we've been on for an hour and a half. But I have, I think, 10 prompts. I think it's 20 prompts. Hang on. I have, 10 prompts in this book and sample responses that will help you. Okay, I have been told recently and in the past to take the constructed response first. Would that benefit me? It just depends. I don't like to tell people what to do inside of the test. I would not skip any questions. I would answer every question. If you want to flag for review, you can do that. Don't flag everything for review. Some of you have such test anxiety that you flag everything, then nothing's flagged. So make sure you answer every question and don't spend too much time on any one question because there could be some questions at the end if you run out of time. So that's up to you. You can try it. You're welcome, Sarah Tab. What is the need of a student reads slaw instead of shawl? We've got some decoding issues there, Tab. They're word recognition issues. So we probably need to work on phonics. So word recognition, definitely decoding issues. They've substituted out words. That's a phonics issue. Feeling more confident. Awesome, Ty. What's your recommendation for the order you suggest to do the test for Fort? India, can you rewrite that? I'm not sure what you're asking. I am taking the 5205 tomorrow. Is it possible to preview the CRQs prior to working on the multiple choice questions? I believe you can because it's all one. They're not broken up like you have this much time for this and then this much time for that. It's actually all one test. So I believe you can. But I think you have to finish it and submit it before going back to the multiple choice. I don't know. I don't know. Don't forget the offer code. Thank you, Yana. Every time I watch you, I learn more strategies and I'm getting better. Yay, Rochelle. I can't tell you how much you are appreciated. I would buy all your books. Thanks. Oh, awesome. I'm so glad you did. I also have another book for those of you who are new to teaching. It's called Teach, a Survival Guide for New Teachers. I also have an online course for this. This is all the things to help you. And I have funny stories when I was a teacher, like all the things that happened to me that made me cry at the time, but now I think are funny. Is there a video that breaks down more detail the difference between phonological and phonemic awareness and phonics? Yep, on my YouTube channel, I have tons. We'll link it up in the email. I also have an online course that really breaks down everything, okay? I think I confuse all of the definite. Well, you're confusing it because it's phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, and phonics. But I break it down in a lot of my videos on YouTube. So, what is the need if a student reads bulldogs instead of bulldoges instead of bulldogs? It's word recognition. Tab, you're asking me questions about phonics. If they're reading the wrong word, they may be moving too quickly, or for me, it would be a phonics skill. So you need to work on decoding words with that student. I have purchased all your products, just not a good study person. Okay, Bree. Well, definitely read everything and keep trying. Watch the videos. You might be more of a visual person. Do you have a list of strategies for the Fab Five related to the construction response? I have them in my online course, but I also have a video about the Fab Five. But again, you can go through the book and pull out there's strategies for every single. And Michelle's talking about the Fab Five of reading. The Fab Five of reading are phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocab, comprehension. They call them the Fab Five. And I have videos about that as well. And I cover it all in my online course. What is the need of a student? Okay, we've got that already. Do you know if they ask about reading rope of Scarborough? Yes, they do. I believe that's in my foundations. I definitely have it in the 5.2, or was it the 5047? Hang on. Let me search my book. I think it's in the 5206, but yes, I have that. I have a whole section on that. I don't know if it's in, let me do Scarborough. Hang on. It may not be for this. It wasn't in the specs. Let me just see something, guys. Sorry. I want to make sure I address this. Scarborough. It basically what that is, Scarborough. What she's talking about, the reading rope of Borou. GH. Nope, it's not in the fort. It wasn't in the specs of the fort. Let me grab this. Let me search my computer. It's going to pop up which study guide it's in. It's in the 5206. Yes, it's in my, I knew it was. It's in the 5206 book and the 7002. So it's not in the foundations, but it's in there. Let me pull that up. I'll pull it up for you. Okay. Let's go. Let me share screen real quick for those of you who want this. Just real quick. This is something that, sorry, let me zoom in. All right, let me scroll. This is a researcher and reading. Basically, all it is when you're talking about the Scarborough's reading rope, it's a lower level decoding skills and higher level decoding skills. And it's broken up the same way like the Fab Five is broken up. The lower level is going to be phonological awareness, decoding, and sight recognition. These are code-based skills. You're looking at the codes and words. Meaning-based, understanding the meaning, is going to be vocabulary, background knowledge, literacy, higher level. So it's just like the continuum where you start with code-based and you move into more complex skills. It is in my 5206, so I don't know who asked me this question. It was, sorry, I don't know where I got this, but whoever asked me this, thank you. It is in my 5206 book. It's not in the specs for 5205. That's why it wasn't included, but that's what this is here. Good question. Yeah, let me scroll down here. Do you offer a webinar for the special ed test? Yes, I do. It's coming up next month. And I just did one. Let me stop sharing. Let me show you where to get that. Special ed, a lot of you are looking for that. Let me go to my website under free webinars, scroll down. It's this yellow book here. This one will help you right here. Click this, sign up. It's the same process as this. You just get a replay. All right, let me go back. I just want to answer all the questions before I go today. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome. Let me see. I usually do one response, 50 multiple choice, small background, second essay, and 50 questions. Oh, India, that's good. Take a little bathroom break, but I think the clock is still going. But first, those of you who need to get up and move your bodies, not a bad strategy, India. I was asking, what do you recommend as the order for doing the 4 test? Oh, It depends on you. I'm not going to tell you what order to do it. If you spend too long in the writing, you may not get some of those multiple choice questions because it's a combined score. So it just depends. It just practice at home. I'm going to take the Praxis course soon. Is the similar format of the reading core exam? No, Kylie, this is different. The reading portion of the core is like an SAT. This is teaching reading. Totally different. I take the Fort Monday. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Holly. Good luck. Let us know how you're doing. Juliana, thank you. Thank you. Feeling good. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Looks like Yana answered a lot of these questions. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Just wanted to make sure I answered all the questions. Be on the lookout for that email. In it, you'll have the replay of this and the free study guides to download again. Also, you'll get a list of all the videos I talked about, so you can click from them straight from your email. There will also be the products I talked about today, this, and the online courses and all that stuff. And there will be an offer code for you to save money. Remember, on our website, it's not going to work on Amazon, but if you want a physical copy of the book, buy the new, don't buy used, and it'll come to you in a couple days with Prime, okay? Good luck, guys. Thank you so much for being reading teachers or taking this test, even if you're a content area teacher. I really appreciate it. And if you buy our products and you like them, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review on Amazon or the website, I would be very grateful for that, because everything is about word of mouth and social proof. So let me know how you're doing. You can always hit us up at info@kathleenjasper.com. You can get us on Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, Instant Messenger, and we have a bot on our website. So thank you.